think what makes our team at Storm so strong and special is not only their commitment to producing the best bowling balls in the world, but it's their commitment to each other. That we've got a wonderful culture here that Mr. and Mrs. Chrisman had set forth when they started Storm, and it's just something that we all embrace and we certainly enjoy. We have a lot of fun here, what we do. We've also we get real serious at some points, but our team, we joke that a rookie in our organization is someone that's been here 10 years. So we've got a lot of tenure in our building and a lot of experience, and it's something that makes the company just work really well together.
Gio.
Steve.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Good, man.
Well, good.
Hey, got an exciting day here. We got some new cover stocks and selections to show you as we are working through the development of our new Ion Pro.
Yep.
So you might know or you might be familiar with the core in here being a Pro model design, which is a little bit more stable, right? A little bit more controllable. But we've got some different cover stock options, and one of the biggest, most important parts of developing a new ball is selecting the right cover.
The right cover, yeah.
Right, as you know. So we've got a cleaner cover stock on the IQ Tour. It's the R2S Solid, right? We have a little bit more aggressive cover stock in the TX16 Solid.
Does it even need introduction?
Doesn't, it's that good, right? Everybody knows the Phase 2. And then we have a no-name test ball here that is actually a stronger solid blend that is kind of up on that scale.
That's the stronger one, strongest one.
That will be the strongest one as well.
Okay.
And then we're going to show you where this TX16 hybrid fits among this mix. So I want you to start with the IQ Tour, get lined up. The pattern we put out here for you is a 40-foot pattern that's not only sport compliant, but more than sport compliant.
Oh, so you put something flat there.
It's quite flat, yeah. So not a lot of forgiveness. But when we're working on testing a kind of a tour design or a tour concept ball, that's going to be typically for oil patterns that are a little bit more challenging.
Okay.
So it makes the most sense. So let's get started, and let's start with that IQ Tour.
Let's do it. Any part of the lane that you want me to go, or like just want me to line up?
I want you to get lined up, but I got to imagine you'll probably be a little bit more to the outside, being that one is the cleanest cover.
Okay.
Well, I tell you, watching, it looked like from time to time it was a pretty good ball motion, but what did we notice? At times it seemed like it was getting down the lane a little too far, which could bring it either behind the head pin, or sometimes it could even overreact on
it. That cover stock is very responsive, so I felt like it was getting a little behind the head pin. It felt like I needed to either roll a bit more to make it see it earlier, or I need a little bit more surface. It felt like it was a pinch. It's higher volume, isn't it?
It's a little higher volume, and the other thing with this oil pattern being a little bit flatter pattern is there's not necessarily a lot of shape in the pattern where you're forced to play.
There's no place where to throw it to.
There's no place to really, and not much forgiveness, right? So what I'd like to see you do next is grab the Ion Pro, which again, talking the differences between the two balls and the cover stocks, you're going from an R2S Solid in the IQ Tour, and then we're stepping it up to the TX16 Hybrid, meaning part solid, part pearl.
Okay.
And I'd like to give it.
I like it.
I'd like you to give it a shot and
I'm excited already.
See what happens.
Let's try this. Man, that's good.
That's nice,
I
right?
really like it.
Now, the one thing, I don't know, what was your move as far as your feet?
I moved like 4 left. I felt that at the beginning, obviously we have thrown a couple shots already, so starting to break down. And that ball, it sees the mid lane much better. I liked it. It started hooking very well. Then I had to move a bit, like adjust. So much, this transition that there's already some spot to throw it to, and it looks good.
And
it looks good.
You'd say this is a bit of a step up then from the IQ Tour, but still has some versatility. The thing I like too, watching the ball go down the lane, is the heavy roll.
Yeah.
On the back end, right?
Yeah, no, it sees the milling much better. It still gives you that feel of benchmark type of ball.
Yeah.
Where like for fresh, for that first transition,
Yeah.
still, but it shapes. Like that's why it's nice about it. It shapes like much better. Like right in this pattern, it looks better than
looks
actually.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I can see the ball, like I said, slow down, read the mid lane, and then still make the shape down lane. Now, for the third step, what I want you to do is throw the phase 2. So now we're going from, yes, there are different cores, but we're going from the TX16 hybrid to the TX16 solid.
Okay.
And it has a little bit more dynamic core, a little bit stronger cover stock as well.
Okay.
So give that one a shot.
Okay. Do you want me to stay the same? You want me to move left?
Let's go ahead and start at the same place, and then let's see what happens from there.
Good.
Pretty good?
Yes.
Pretty good reaction.
It's a phase 2.
But we did see, like, say, like a 3-6-10 or solid 9 or something like that.
No, definitely. It feels stronger. The core is stronger. So obviously the bowling ball wants to grab the lane much more. And it forced me a little farther left.
A little farther left, yeah.
To the point where it felt that maybe a little too far left for where it seems right now that the lanes are playing. Maybe later when I have to even further left, I could go to the phase 2. But right now, I would say Ion Pro.
And taking into account the actual oil pattern itself, when we get a little bit too far inside, we're moving into not another mound of oil, because it's
to the flatter part of the lane also.
It's a sport, yeah. So just like we had a little bit of trouble with the IQ Tour, if we were too far to the right on the pattern, we could have some issues with the phase 2 if we're too far left of the pattern that we need to be.
Yes.
And now speaking of too far left, I have a test ball that has an undisclosed, not only core design, but also cover stock. But know that it is a stronger, more aggressive cover than all 3 of these.
So it's going to push me farther left. I'm going to hook it.
I am guessing it's going to push you even farther left. Yes, that's my prediction. So.
Okay, you want me to stand as the phase 2?
Same thing. Let's start from there, and then we'll make our adjustments.
Okay. That messenger, man. I could have touched it. I could have touched it.
Awfully close, awfully good shot. Well, what did you feel like, or what did you notice with this one?
Big ball, strong. Asim has like strong.
Could
it
be.
Grabs the lane.
Could be an ASIM.
Oh, I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing
like
here. It
but
rolls like it.
It could be an ASIM, yeah.
It's strong. It is very strong. Much stronger than those other three for sure.
And how much deeper inside were you with your feet compared to the phase 2?
I was like 3 or 4 farther left.
Quite a bit.
Yeah. Obviously, after all these shots, now the lanes are developing to the point where it's forcing me even farther left. There is a lot of volume, so it is good. I like it because I can move far left and throw it to the friction, and it blends. It's doing the right thing. It's in the middle lane. It's shaping. It doesn't overhook, but it doesn't overskid.
Yeah.
It just rolls like a strong ball.
Cool. Well, this is a matchup for you that could be the right choice on a little heavier volume pattern like we have here. But what we're going to do now is we're going to put down a different pattern. So we're going to go with one that's also a similar distance, around in that middle range, like 40 feet or so.
Okay.
We're going to go with a lighter volume pattern, something that doesn't have as much total oil applied to the lane.
Okay.
And then we're going to basically go through the test again and see how that affects which balls match up the best.
More bowling. I like it.
All right. Well, guess what?
What?
So we've got a new pattern out. This is also a medium length. It's about a foot longer or so. But
Okay.
this is more typical of what you would see in your average house shot. So there's less oil to the right, a little bit more in the middle.
Like the track area,
It'll be a little bit more in the track here. If you were to start too far to the right,
it will hook too much.
it's going to overhook.
Okay.
So we want to kind of do the same thing that we did before, start with the IQ Tour.
Okay.
But my guess is you're going to need to be a little bit more inside just because of the lack of
Okay. Between
oil,
10 and
a little to
15.
the- that's
around
right.
there.
Somewhere
Okay.
around there. We'll see how it goes. But again, the same kind of thinking. You know, we want to start with, we've got our R2S cover stock on our IQ Tour. And this is the cleanest cover stock of them all. And we want to get lined up with this and see how it looks.
Okay. Perfect. Let's do it. So, okay. I have an idea. Wish me luck.
Crusty.
That's kind of the old trusty IQ Tour, right?
Man, and that's the ball that I usually throw on house shot patterns when I bowl league.
House shot, it works good, and it's
Yeah.
a little bit of a milder cover stock, cleaner cover stock.
Totally.
There's not as much oil on the lanes, and you saw when that ball did kind of make the break point, it had a pretty nice shape off the back of it.
Definitely.
A good all-purpose ball, something you can rely on, but again, just a little bit cleaner cover stock. Now from there, again, like we said, the next step up cover
Ion.
stock-wise is going to be the Ion Pro, right? TX16 hybrid. So now we're going to do the same kind of thing that we did. Kind of get lined up sort of where you were with the IQ Tour.
Okay.
Throw a shot with the Pro, and then let's see what happens.
Perfect. So I imagine this cover stock is already stronger, so I imagine I have to move you left, right?
Most likely.
Okay. Only like 3 left.
pretty close, right?
Yeah, very close. Very close. I like it. I like it. It feels stronger. It is a stronger ball for sure. It's like, I would say that it's an IQ type of motion, just bigger, stronger. I really like it.
And sometimes with the pro model balls, sometimes people are afraid to get a little bit farther inside. Like that shot probably, you know, what are we crossing now? Like 17
Around there.
or so inside of the third arrow. Sometimes afraid it's not quite enough ball, but as you can see, it picked up right the mid lane enough, but it wasn't too early or too soon, so you didn't lose any of the back end reaction. It was just, again, even though it's a totally different pattern, a stronger version of what you had with the IQ Tour.
Totally.
All right, so next step, we're going to try the phase 2. Again, stronger, a little bit more dynamic core, and also a stronger earlier cover stock. I think the challenge is going to be sometimes, you know, how deep can we go or get, which requires us to open up our angles. Can we still get the ball through the pins or through the pocket as we're moving deep on maybe a little bit lighter volume pattern?
Totally. So you want me to go even farther left with that one?
Even farther left, and again, we're going to get lined up where we were lined up with our Ion Pro.
Okay.
See what happens. If we have to move deeper, we can move deeper and see if it allows us to get matched up and dialed in on this pattern.
Okay. Slap it out.
The one thing I do like about that, and I think a lot of people like about the phase 2, is it is reliable. Even if it's a little too much ball or a little bit too early, it still hits the pocket, but what do you lose? Or what's the hardest thing when you throw a ball that's a little too early?
Yeah, it loses motion in the back, it loses carry. The ball doesn't go through the pins as well, I would say. So yeah, I do feel that it's a little stronger in the mid lane, so it might be a little less in the back, so it doesn't go through the pins as good, but still, phase 2.
Still a pretty good option,
Yes.
right? But we could definitely see that it ended up being a little earlier, and as far as optimum ball motion goes, it might have been a little bit too early, right?
Yeah, it forces me farther left where I get to the wet dry part of that pattern, though. So it might be, if I miss a little in, it might shoot through it and it doesn't go through the pin as much, so yeah.
And speaking of too far left,
oh, I can imagine now.
we've got our test ball with, again, the strongest core and the strongest cover.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and keep moving inside and let's see what happens.
I'm gonna make a little jump to the left.
Might even require a big jump.
I'm gonna move like 7, I would say, how strong this ball is. Nothing hooks.
And you could see even with that one, now we say it's a higher scoring condition, but this is a typical house shot. And a player of your caliber and with your rev rate, your roll, it's going to be really hard to use a ball like that.
Yeah, I would choose that ball in a higher volume patterns in a way. I would not use a ball where I place the hooks too much or with less volume. I think it's too much of a ball. So I will go more into the cleaner cover stock
Something
stuff.
that's a bit more of a step down for a typical house shot or for a league shot or something like that.
Or at least where they hook, right? Because if there is a league with a lot of volume, I can see it happening.
That's true.
Yeah.
But for this pattern today, when we're looking at ball motion, we're looking at the Ion Pro TX16 Hybrid, still read the mid lane. The nice thing I liked about this is that on the sport pattern, on the tougher first pattern, you could play a little bit more to the right. And then when we got to our house shot, you were able to get a little bit closer to third arrow, but you still got some continuation without it being too clean, without it going too far down the lane. Really a nice combination.
Yeah, in that part of the house shot, when you get a bit farther left, it's breaking down. The lanes forces you left, and you get to the where there's more volume, there's more oil, and the I-cube might be a little clean. That one slows down like better.
Absolutely.
All right, Steve. You know, since the time that I've been here, about the past 10 years or so, we have these benchmark balls and we have pro-type balls that, you know, color influences the type of direction we're going with that piece. So what makes a pro ball or a tour ball a tour ball?
Well, you know, one of the things, if you go back, and there have been a lot of tour balls going back early in the Storm days. We had the Red Sun Storm Tour Edition. I don't know if you remember that, but it was a one color, you know, just a single tone ball. We had some Thunder Flash Pros. We had Bolt Pro. Historically, pro level types of balls are kind of more, I won't say no frills, but it's kind of like there's not a lot of extra pizzazz to it. It's more about a predictable, smooth, understandable ball motion, because typically at the pro level, the bowlers at that caliber have a higher rev rate, and they don't need a lot of extra help out of the cover stock or out of the weight block to create the shape that's needed on the lane. So typically, if you're looking at a pro or a tour type of a ball, you're looking at something that's going to be just a little bit more stable. And even when you're looking at the colors or the outside, the appearance of the ball, a lot of times there's not a lot of extra colors, contrast, bright, flashy stuff. And I think a lot of that just happens to be what the appeal is for a lot of maybe what that professional level eye is looking for, is to clearly understand and see what's happening as it goes down the lane. And if there's a variety or a big, huge contrast to different colors, the ball is going to appear a little bit different going down the lane than what their eyes used to.
Yeah, I know what you mean, especially with the balls that are the reds and the yellows and the golds, the ones that kind of blend into the lane. The balls that are usually darker or one tone or tonal, you get more of a contrast that pops off of the lane, and it's easier for you to read the ball. And I think that's what helps the pros at that level get a better understanding and imagery of what's happening on the lane, because the ball is giving them kind of instant feedback. Okay, so when we're building these balls from scratch, it usually starts from the inside and goes out. We decide what core we want to use, what cover stock material, is it going to be pearl solid hybrid, the color, and then ultimately the finish. And the finish decisions come from the testing that we do. So what was decided upon that would make a good benchmark type of reaction surface finish for the Ion Pro?
Well, the big thing when you're looking at a benchmark is you need to make sure that you are allowing yourself some moves up or down in your arsenal, right? So if we had, for example, and this is it's a milder asymmetrical, right? But this is a premier line type of a shape. If we were to apply too much surface or too dull of a surface, it's going to probably creep up high and be a lot closer to some of the bigger balls in my bag, like an Absolute Power, for example. But on the other side of it, if I take it down and let's say we smooth it out with like a Smooth Edge or Extra Shine or Reactagloss, something like that, when we're looking for a benchmark ball, we're looking for something that's really going to read that pattern and give us a true understanding of where the oil is at on the lane. And if the ball's too shiny or too dull, it's either going to scoot and just slide through the mid lane, or it's going to start grabbing before it even gets there. And we're not really going to understand what's happening in that middle part of the lane and then be able to adjust off it, either going up or down.
So giving yourself some latitude is important, not only what you have in your bag, but from the design process as well.
That's right, yeah. And if we have too smooth of a surface on this, it may push me too close to where the drier part of the lane is, which then may overreact, right? Or if we have too much surface, it may push me too far inside to where I'm not taking advantage of where that built-in shape is from the oil to the dry, and maybe I never even really see the drier part of the lane.
You'll never match up to it if you're too much in one direction or the other.
That's exactly right.
know from just user experience that 4000 is one of the most versatile surfaces that we use. You think IQ Tour, it's 4000.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you know, and that's 4000, and 4000 on the Ion Pro allows me to get my laydown on this pattern, you know, around 17, 18 or so. Play in between the second and third arrow, which is going to be a nice part of the pattern, and on most patterns, that's going to allow me to then still retain a little bit more oil left to move into as the condition breaks down. So I'm not starting too far to the right and messing with where that out of bounds can typically be, or even overreaction if it's dry.
all right, Steve, we just shined up your Ion Pro with using smooth edge on the ball spinner. So it should be something that's easily replicable in the Pro Shop. So I want you to stand in the same spot with your feet, look at the same target, kind of get a baseline of what the reaction characteristics of this is now that it's shiny
With the new surface.
with the new surface. All right, so there's definitely a noticeable difference between the two reactions.
Yeah.
So you got this lined up in the same spot as before, but
Right.
there was a difference down lane. What did you have to do to adjust to the change in the surface?
Yeah, well, basically, when I was lined up before with the box finish, you could see the ball sort of slow down in the mid lane and then read the pattern down kind of in the back ends. It was kind of shaping nice. Now, it's not that it's too far off, but I can feel that ball scooting through there just a little bit more easily, and all of a sudden the ball's hitting lighter. The shaker, you know, light flat tens, shaker tens, messenger in front of it, the 7-pin, like just not right. And I kept trying to get my feet a little bit closer to the friction, and then as soon as I did, what happened? Like 4-9 and the 9-pin fell, I just leave a 4-pin.
Yeah.
It's like, so what do I do now? Well, for me, it just kind of proves that I need to have a little bit more surface on this ball, something that's going to slow down and read that mid lane a lot better,
Yeah.
and not just kind of scoot through it. So that's what that tells me. For me, the proof is in the ball reaction or the ball motion, which for me right now, with that real shiny finish, not ideal.
Your transition zones are too short, so your pocket down at the pocket is a little smaller window, so
Definitely smaller.
you're going to see more 4-9s with that.
Yeah, and then if I try to move off the 4-9, then I get the shaker 10 or half 10, or
Yeah.
it's not giving me any margin for error.
Yeah, over-under is not a bowler's best friend.
No.
All right, Steve, so we went the other direction. Instead of shiny, we went dull. So this is another surface that you could do. I want you to stand in the same spot as you were. Your set down in the beginning with the out of box was about 17 board, 16,
Yeah.
17.
Yep.
So stand in the same spot, and then let's adjust off of that.
And it looks like it's maybe 1,000 or so?
It's about
pretty-
1,000.
Pretty gritty, yeah. It looks like it's got some surface. Yeah, I'll go ahead and start there, and I got to assume with this finish,
We know what's going to happen.
we know what's going to happen, but let's show everybody what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, Chad.
So it's pretty clear to see that that ball got offline a lot quicker and got going forward a lot sooner down lane. Now it was a different reaction than the other two completely, but was it the right reaction?
Well, I started out just like kind of we expected. We would see the ball hook too much too soon, come offline. First shot's Brooklyn, move 3, 4-9, still hook too much, move another 2. And then I started hitting the pocket, but the one thing I noticed is that all of a sudden now, the ball was shaping the lane okay, but where was I sliding?
Pretty deep.
That's pretty.
You had to get into the
I
deeper
had to
oil.
because of that surface. So it wasn't allowing me to really, while I could hit the pocket, I couldn't take advantage of maybe where that miss room would be, a little bit left and right. So that's why this kind of a surface, while it looks okay on this, boy, talk about maybe just another game or two in, and now all of a sudden it's going to be, the oil pattern will be completely flat because we've used up all that oil in the middle of the lane because the surface forced my feet that far inside.
Yeah, and your reaction is going to get flatter and flatter.
Yeah.
Just watching it go through the pins, it was different than you struck, but it's not the type of look I would want my ball to go through the pins as.
And that last shot, I mean, you could kind of see really there at the end. I mean, you see it started kind of read in the mid lane, but there was one that really was kind of really soft that probably 8 out of 10 times it's not going to strike.
Yeah.
And the other thing is we're talking about a benchmark ball and a benchmark reaction. So what do you need to have with that? You got to have balls that are up from that. And if you have a ball that's prepared with 1,000 grit, for me, for my speed and rev rate balance, 1,000 grit prep ball on just about anything is going to have to tip on that higher side of my arsenal, right? It's going to have to be one of my quote unquote bigger balls.
So you're going to err on the side of more surface than not enough surface.
Especially if I'm looking or needing to play that deep, I'm going to need that kind of surface. But again, for an ideal benchmark type of reaction and a benchmark type of a ball, I'm not going to want that much surface.